his name.
We are talking about the Western action movie, The Outsider. This one is directed by Timothy Woodard Jr. and stars John Fu, Trace Adams and Sean Patrick Flannery. Now this is a kind of Western revenge movie with a kind of smattering of martial arts. So the story focuses on this, well, I say focus, we'll come on to that. I suppose the bulk of the plot focuses on this Chinese railroad worker played by John Fu, and at the beginning of the movie he is kind of set upon by a kind of local deputy who takes issue with him and arrests him, beats him, puts him in jail for no apparent reason, and whilst he's in jail he then rapes and kills this guy's pregnant wife. Now, the railroad worker escapes and kind of goes on a revenge mission to obviously avenge his wife. Along the way, he encounters Sean Patrick Flannery's character, who was initially hired to track this guy, but Sean Patrick Flannery's character sees a kind of the injustice that he's kind of done and kind of is conflicted about what he should do and may even become an ally. Then you also have Trace Adams' character, who is the actual sheriff, and he's the father of the deputy who raped this woman, and he's kind of torn himself about, you know, should he uphold justice or should he kind of back his son in order to try and kind of kill this Chinese railroad worker to try and sort of protect his son from this kind of revenge mission. So we have all these kind of almost like four kind of opposing kind of point of views and about what should be done about this particular kind of situation. So it's obviously a lower budget kind of more independent production, so you can obviously bear that in mind, but I've got to say I actually thought this was quite an enjoyable film. I thought the production value, despite it being on the lower budget side, still pretty good. I thought the aesthetic looked like, you know, some authentic kind of Western kind of like locales and kind of set designs and stuff like that. With the costuming, I thought on a production standpoint, the camera work, the lighting was all particularly good. The climax is kind of set in the kind of like this rain, and it looks really good. It looks very atmospheric. I thought that was all excellent. And I have to say I enjoyed the characters here, and the acting is pretty good as well. The standout for me was actually Trace Adkins, who plays the sheriff, and he's this kind of very kind of gruff, sheriff with he's got this great kind of voice, this fantastic kind of line delivery that sounds kind of like totally epic. So I think his line delivery and his kind of gravitas that he's on screen is great. There are also some fairly kind of like good martial arts sequences, obviously involving kind of John Fu's character, and I quite enjoyed Sean Patrick Flannery's character as well as this kind of roguish kind of tracker who his allegiance is somewhat kind of in question. It does kind of follow a somewhat kind of standard template in regards to a revenge thriller, but it does something different in the fact that there's no real central protagonist. Now, when I describe this movie to you, it sounds like you're going to be following John Fu's character as he tries to get revenge, but you don't. The weird thing about this film is that it's not really from his point of view. There's a lot of times where we spend, probably the majority of the time in fact, with the actual sheriff played by Trace Adkins, and that his son, the deputy, and his kind of henchman, and their kind of relationship. So it's almost an ensemble piece rather than a kind of one where you have I mean, there is a protagonist. He's obviously the wronged party here, but the movie doesn't kind of really focus on it. In fact, there's large portions of the movie where we don't actually see John Fu's character at all, and the focus will shift sometimes to Trace Adkins' character, or then sometimes it's going to be kind of Sean Patrick Flannery's character. So the movie is less of a kind of a straight kind of revenge action movie, more of a kind of ensemble movie with action sequences and martial arts sequences in there. So it makes it have a somewhat of a kind of a unique flavour, and one that I actually kind of quite liked. Because it does give you somewhat of a different flavour, and you feel like you're some of the kind of the characters who you who really less kind of like influential in the story actually get quite a lot of screen time. However, it's not always a good thing. And I would say, like, again, if we're using Trace Adkins' character as the kind of the good example of this one, I really enjoyed his character, but he doesn't really have much impact on the plot when it's all said and done. In fact, you can take his character out of this movie and it plays exactly the same. The same events happen, and the same consequences happen, really. So the movie does kind of have this these character building moments and these kind of scenes where there's kind of a lot of kind of dialogue exchanged, but then the actual characters that are involved are very kind of inconsequential to the overall plot, weirdly. So it's a little bit of an oddly kind of structured film in that respect. The other thing that I would say in regards to the story structure here, and maybe this is a change that could have been made in favour of maybe cutting those scenes down a little bit, because at the end of the day, Trace Adkins' character is somewhat superfluous to the plot. But what I did find that a little bit was missing was really the inciting incident between John Fu's character and the kind of the deputy, because that just seems to happen, and we never really see kind of what actually went on there, or at least in any great detail. And to me, I was always wondering, well, what, I feel like I was missing bits there, and kind of there wasn't enough kind of like setup, if you ask me, for that. And also, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more kind of. I mean, we get obviously the gist that John Fu's married to his wife and stuff, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more at the beginning of the movie, kind of showing their relationship. I felt you would have had a bit more of an emotional commitment to it. So, at the end of the day, what's on screen is of good quality. It's well shot, it's well acted. I think the action sequences are well done. But for me, the story structure was a little odd in the fact that we have not bad scenes, but seemingly inconsequential characters, really. And then we're missing sections where I feel it could have helped the story in a way. But nonetheless, I actually still thought this was a well-made Western, well-made action movie, and it does kind of get into kind of like action trope, kind of like action movie tropes and stuff like that, to be honest with you. This is just not a kind of like a dramatic, Unforgiven style kind of realistic look at the Old West. This is an action movie. But I still found it an enjoyable movie, but just kind of somewhat oddly structured. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. It's worth a watch, I feel. It's a well-made movie. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.